Good morning, everybody. All of you Fun Life community cool kids hanging out today. Today in the Childlike Faith Studios, we have none other than this guy. Y'all have heard me reference his book time and time and time again because our goal this whole year was to be more, do more, and have more, right? From the Ziegler philosophy of you can have everything in life you want if you'll help enough other people get what they want. And Bob's going to talk to us about his book, some events they've got coming up, and how you can become a go giver. Bob, thank you so much for being in the studio with us today. I appreciate you.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. And Zig was our first lifetime achievement award, Go Giver Lifetime Achievement Award winner. We he
Oh,
he came
I
to
did
our
not know that.
Yeah, he came to an event back. I think this was in 2010, and his proud son Tom was on stage with him, as was Mrs. Ziegler when we gave him
Oh
the
man.
award. So that was a
Oh, Jean,
lovely.
she's amazing.
She is, and the whole family was amazing. Afterwards, they sat down and signed autographs for people for probably 2 or 3 hours, and the emails that I got from people after the event, and it was I think it was a 3 day event with lots of speakers and so forth, and they said the best thing of all was how nice and how kind and how personable and how authentic the Ziegler family was.
100%. I mean, I now get to call Tom my coach, and he's really my brother. Julie and Cindy, the whole Ziegler team, everybody associated with that organization. I went through the Ziegler Legacy Certification Program back in 2020, adopted it, adapted it to everything that we do here, and I've just been everything has just blossomed because of it. And they really did teach us how to give, and you can't give that which you don't have. And so I want to kind of start getting into the go giver because there's a whole lot. I mean, there's so much in this, and it's a simple little story. And so go ahead and just kind of tell us a little bit about how this whole thing started and a little bit about yourself. For those of you that don't know Bob, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, just a former broadcaster who graduated into sales. And thanks to people like Zig Ziglar, I did very well in sales. Zig was my first, and this is 40 years ago or so. And I got his books, and I got his, back then it was tapes, cassette tape programs, and I remember the first sales event I ever attended was Zig Ziglar, and so he made such an impression on me and was just so much a part of my successful sales career. So eventually I ended up speaking and writing, and back about almost 15 years ago now, John David Mann and I got together on this book. John was really the lead writer, storyteller. He's an absolutely brilliant guy, great entrepreneur, brilliant writer. And we were able to come out with this parable, which is what it is, a business parable. And fortunately, it's taken hold in the marketplace.
Man, sales is, that's one thing Mr. Ziegler always said. Everybody is in sales. You may not
Hmm.
realize it, but you are, right? We're all
Hmm.
selling something to somebody. And
Absolutely.
what I loved about this book are the laws that you guys spoke about, and how you literally, that's how I learned. And so that's why probably I was so drawn to it, is because I can follow the story, I can learn, and you almost can't wait to get to the next chapter because it's just evolving. Just really quick, can you tell us a little bit about those five laws and kind of how all that works
Sure.
together?
Yeah. So the five laws themselves are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. It's all based upon a basic premise, and that premise is that shifting your focus from getting to giving, and the focus is where it begins. And when we say shift from getting to giving, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more pleasant way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of woo-woo, way out there, magical, mystical type of reasons. Not at all. It actually is very practical. It's very, very logical. And that is when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and instead place it on serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire. helping to solve their challenges and problems, focusing on helping to move them closer to happiness, well, people feel good about you. Actually, they feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They want to tell the world about you. They want to be what we call your personal walking ambassadors. So off of that, the 5 laws, the first one is the law of value. This one says that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, when you first hear this, it sounds rather counterintuitive. Give more in value than I take in payment. That kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy, right? So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value, pardon me, to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you make a very healthy profit. And this would sort of be the accountant who charges you $5,000 to do, or charges you $1,000 to do your taxes, but she saves you $5,000, right, in taxes, and she saves you countless hours of time. She provides you and your family with the security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly, right? The price was $1,000. The value was stratospheric. It was well over
Absolutely.
$5,000, right? And so both of you profited. In fact, in any free market-based exchange, and when we say free market, we simply mean no one's forced to do business with anyone else, right? In any market-based exchange, there should always be 2 profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. But it always starts with the focus of the seller. It's got to be on the value they're providing. See, this is why John David Mann and I say that money is simply an echo of value. Money is an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning, meaning nothing more than the value must come first. That's the focus, right? The money you receive is simply a natural result of the value you've provided. And that's basically the very elementary part of law number 1. Law number 2, the law of compensation, says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. So, for example, our accountant in the first example did a wonderful job of giving more in value than she took in payment, right? And while making a very healthy profit. So if you're her client, the chances are you feel great about her. You would do business with her again, and you would tell others about her. And her other clients feel the same way. So our accountant is very quickly amassing that army of personal walking ambassadors that are telling others about her, singing her praise. And as she continues to add that kind of exceptional value to the lives of more and more people, her income will continue to grow and grow. In the story, Nicole Martin, who was the CEO in the story, she told Joe, the protege, that the law of value represents your potential income, but it's not enough to provide exceptional value to just one or a few people. The law of income, or the law of compensation, is all about how many lives you impact with that value. So we could say exceptional value, law number 1, plus significant reach, law number 2, equals very, very high compensation. So those are laws 1 and 2. Should we go to the third one?
Well, just really fast. I mean, absolutely. everything, like I said, it just kind of builds one upon the other, right? It's all
Mhm.
very systemic, so
Yeah,
to speak. And so it's one of those things where the building blocks, and as you progressively are adding one plus, it's almost as if synergistically they just start to,
exactly.
yeah. So yeah, continue on, please. Thank you.
Sure. So, law number 3 is the law of influence. And this one says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Again, that sounds not only counterproductive, it sounds almost Pollyanna-ish, right? And yet, the greatest leaders, top influencers, consistently highest earning salespeople and entrepreneurs, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for that other person's interest. Now, let me qualify this, if I may, because this is very important.
Sure.
Easy to understand, but very important not to. And that is when we say place the other person's interests first, we do not mean you should be anyone's doormat, right? Or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at
Right.
all. It simply is Joe learned from several of the proteges, several of the mentors. He was the protege, several of the mentors. The golden rule of business, the golden rule of sales, if you will, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And there's no faster, more powerful, more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, looking for ways, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, to make your win all about the other person's win.
Amen. Right. That quote, and I don't know who to give credit to because so many people have said it. Right. People
Which
don't
one?
care how much you know.
Well,
People don't care how
so
much you know until they know how much
until
you
they know how
care
much you care. So the person who
about
actually
them.
said that, yeah, the person who actually coined that phrase, his name was Cavett Robert. And he was and
Ah,
I'm sure he was a friend of Zig's. Cavett was the founder of the National Speakers Association, co-founder along with Bill Gove.
wow.
And that saying, a beautiful saying, which has been attributed to thousands and thousands of people, was actually Cavett Robert. I spoke to Cavett on the phone before he died and asked him about that. And it was really a thrill to be able to, to talk to the man who was the source of that saying. And he was a great friend of Dale Carnegie's, by the way. Cabot Robert was. So it kind of goes back into some real history there of the personal development movement. So
Absolutely, yes. And obviously you've done your research. I kind of look at your library back there, and I'm kind of building mine as well. And so there's books from all over. But yeah, please continue on with the laws.
well, I'm a lot older than you are, so I've had time to, to build that. And I always say my home is comprised of books with some scattered furniture.
Okay.
So yeah, I love the books.
I'm gonna have to steal
um,
that.
Yeah. Law number 4 is the law of authenticity. And this says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Now, in this part of the story, Deborah, the realtor, she shared a very important lesson that she learned after about a year in business and almost going out of business. And that is that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all indeed very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself, day after day, week after week, month after month, people not only feel good about you, they feel comfortable with you and they feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And it is hardwired into us from back in the time of our cave person ancestors that consistency is, being able to understand our world, and this in a world that's often very difficult to understand. Being consistent is craved by people because they want to be able to know who you are, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you need to be authentic and you need to be consistent, and that's how they know, and that inspires trust, and that builds trust, and it it keeps trust. One thing too about the term authenticity, which I believe that the very term has almost been hijacked over the last 10 years, I think with social media, that authenticity has kind of come to be known as synonymous with, well, no boundaries, just let it all hang out, say whatever you want, and doesn't matter because you're authentic, and that's okay. And I respectfully disagree with that. This would be like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. And if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. Well, that's malarkey, right? That's baloney. It simply means that person has an authentic problem, and that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher, more authentic version of themselves. So we never want people to confuse authenticity as an excuse to stop growing, right? But rather to use the term authenticity the concept as an impetus to step into your highest, truest, authentic core. I define authenticity very very simply, I think, and that is this: it's acting congruently with your values.
Ooh,
And I think as long as you're doing that, you're being authentic.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the word Webster's Dictionary Word of the Year for 2023 was authenticity, or maybe it was genuine, one of the two. But they're synonymous, right? And so
Yeah, yeah,
that just let me know that the world, ever since COVID, they started looking for something real, something genuine, something authentic. They're
yeah.
they're tired of the fake. They're tired of the not everything that glitters is gold type of thing. And so that's what I love about your book. And for those of you just joining us, we have co-author of The Go Giver, Bob Burg. And actually, the very first time I heard about you, I kid you not, this was probably back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Was another book, Endless Referrals, which
Yeah,
was
that was
crazy,
my first one. Yeah,
and that really helped out a lot.
thank
So
you.
I know we're finishing up with the loss. I'll go ahead and let you continue on.
Yeah, the last one, the fifth law, is the law of receptivity, and this one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And this really means nothing more than understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in. It's not
Yes.
one or the other, right? You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. The key is where you focus, right? You focus on the giving. Now, by the way, this is universal law. This is natural law. These are laws of nature, whether human nature, economic nature, physical nature, right? We plant before we harvest, not after, right? We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. But when we're willing to tap into those laws, now we create that what we call benevolent context for success.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, just really fast before we're fixing to go to an event that you guys have coming up, and then different ways that people can connect with you. But what I love about books like this, and I happen to deal with real estate agents. I'm a mortgage lender, and so I try to help real estate agents who are entrepreneurs by their own right to be able to
Absolutely.
grow their business. But a lot of people don't have to be entrepreneurs to really benefit from this book. Can you kind of explain on that why you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be entrepreneurial?
Well, I mean, an entrepreneur, kind of by definition, you're your own. You own your own business, and so someone who maybe works for another company, they may not literally be an entrepreneur, but they are still an intrapreneur. So they're They have to act entrepreneurial while doing it within another company, and that's fine because what does an entrepreneur do? They have to serve others. Right. Well, the same with an entrepreneur. You have to serve others. Now, the people you're serving might not be the end user, as is the case with the entrepreneur. But it's still you're serving your supervisor, you're serving the owner of the company, you're serving those you lead, you're serving those who are your colleagues, you're serving those in that next silo who maybe they don't get along with people and give information to people and share, but because of the relationship you're able to establish and create, they will with you. In maybe you're serving the end user, but it all comes down to to this when you think of it as an entrepreneur, as a sales professional. And I always used to say this when I traveled all over to speak, which I don't do anymore. I don't get on planes anymore, but I used to, when I'd speak at these major sales conventions, one of the first things I'd say is, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. And they're
So
not going to
good.
buy from you just because you're a nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's fine. It's the way it should be. That's why it's up to you as the salesperson to focus on being able to communicate and deliver extraordinary value to that person. Okay. Then we go back to Zig's most famous saying, right? And then now as an entrepreneur, right, it's the same thing. Nobody's going to hire you and continue to pay you a salary because you have a mortgage payment to meet, or because you want to send your kids to college, or because you want this or you want that. They're going to do it because the value you provide to them is so extraordinary that it's worth it to them to pay you a certain fee or salary.
Right. Yeah. You don't get paid for the hour, but the value
Paid
you
for the
bring
value.
to the.
Right.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much. Let's kind of get into this. You guys have an event coming up. I'll go ahead and put that link in the scroll or in the comment section below. But you guys have something called SalesWise Live.
Yeah.
Explain to us a little bit about that and kind of how that works. And I'll go ahead and put this up
Yeah.
there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, very exciting. It's a 2-day conference, sales conference, very intense sales conference, with Jeff West, who was a magnificent salesperson and then sales manager, sales leader for 20 years, and Kim Angeli, who's an amazing business strategist, and me. The three of us will be doing this. It'll be 2 full days plus a party the night before with a Dixieland band, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It will be held in West Palm Beach, Florida, at the Ben Hotel. And what it is, it's a transformative event designed to take your business from where it is now to where you want it to be. And we're going to go through, over that 2 days, we're going to take you through everything you need to build an absolutely magnificent sales practice, including taking the 2 things that 95% of every salesperson allows to hold them back. It's just about every single time they do that. And by the time we come away from this event, you're going to have the ability to walk away and start applying those into your business. And we so believe in this that we're offering a 100% money back guarantee of satisfaction. So there is no risk, but there's everything to gain.
That is awesome. And again, you literally just did what you told us you provided the value. I mean, you just, in that little brief short period of time, you did everything. You talked about all the 5 laws you were explaining earlier. So that was so
for
awesome.
those who, for those who they, they can go to that site that you were so nice to put down there. But the other one you were kind enough to put down, that's a Q&A we're going to be holding next Tuesday for those who'd like more information about it. And they can ask Jeff, Kim, and myself any questions they would like, about the event. And Jeff, Kim, and I we'll go into a little bit of the teaching so they get a flavor of what they'll receive.
Perfect. And then I'll also put the link up there for you guys to be able to actually go in and register for that event as well, if you guys want to go ahead and do that. So, Bob, really fast, I know our time is kind of coming to an end, and I wanted to just kind of explain, or if you would, what are some questions? Because we always have some really good questions to ask, but what are some questions that you wish people would ask you that you rarely get a chance to explain or talk about?
I mean, I love talking about the principles behind the Go Giver, and I think most of the questions that there are to ask, I probably have been asked. But I think one that is asked, which I always enjoy answering, is, does being a Go Giver mean that you can never say no to people, right? And that you have to be there. And well, first remember, there's nothing about being a go-giver that's self-sacrificial, right? So no, as a matter of fact, as a go-giver, when you start applying these principles, you're going to become so successful that people are going to be asking you for things all the time, and you've got to be able to say no in order to serve the best you can when you're where you're supposed to. So there's always an appropriateness there. The key is, can you say no to people in such a way that is with such tact, kindness, and respect that they feel genuinely good about themselves and good about you? So I can take you through an example if you'd like.
Yes, please do.
So let's say somebody asks you to serve on a committee or something, right? And this could be a school committee, it could be a nonprofit committee, it could be a business committee, whatever. And it's just not something you want to do. And that's fine. Now, people have said, well, just tell people no. And you often hear, well, no is a complete sentence. Well, maybe, but it's a rude complete sentence. Somebody asks you to do something, it's a compliment, and to just say no is not only an insult, you're going to probably turn that person off from wanting to do anything with you in the future, and you might want to keep those doors open. But it's also incongruent with your value system, which is treating people with kindness and respect. So I wouldn't say just say no. We also hear, well, just maybe tell them you don't have time. Well, the problem with that is, of course, it's not that you don't have time, you just don't have the desire to do the thing. And that person's always hearing, I don't have time. So when they answer it in a persuasive way, you're stuck, right? You either have to admit that you are fibbing, which is going to make you feel kind of yucky, and they're going to respect you less, or you've got to, in order to save face, you've got to accept doing this thing that you don't want to do. So again, I don't think that's a good idea either. Here's how we do it. Again, someone asks you to serve on a committee, you simply do this. You simply say this: thank you so much for asking. While it's not something I'd like to do, please know how honored I am to even be considered. Okay. And you can change the language a tiny bit. It could be, thank you. While it's not something I'd like to do, or it's something I choose to do, please know how honored I am to be asked. Something like. But what you didn't do is you didn't give an excuse that allows them to answer the objection. But what you did is you very gently, very politely, you honored them. You let them know you were honored, but you also let them know that, this isn't something that I am going to do. So when we do these things, now we can say no to people, right? And we can do it in a way that honors our time while still honoring the feelings of the other person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's a skill that people can definitely improve, is that skill and
Mm-hmm.
tact, and to come across genuine, like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
without being rude. So, thank you for that. That's actually going to help me personally,
Thank you.
for a committee that I'm being asked to be on, that I honestly cannot fit it into my schedule,
Right.
and I have a bad habit of saying yes,
I know.
to
I
over
understand that.
over committing.
Mhm.
So anyway,
And that's not
thank you
healthy.
so
It's not something, yeah.
thank you so much for that. Now, really quick, one of the things that I like to share with the people in the Fun Life community, I call them the Cool Kids Club. And
Mhm.
that's simply that once we learn to give, right, and kind of go in biblical or scriptural, right, when we learn to give and give cheerfully, right, we really can become that person that when you give, it's going to be given back to you,
Mhm.
pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so my goal this year was to help everyone in some way, shape, or form to be able to live in that perpetual overflow of God's goodness, God's grace, and God's mercy. But you can't really get there until you, like you talked about earlier, help others. And so our level of compensation is going to be in direct proportion to our ability to serve. And I use the word community a lot, because community means different things to different people, whether it's your church, your nonprofits, or whatever that is. Can you just kind of explain how that kind of relates to you in a
Yeah,
sense?
I think it's just, exactly what you said, and, as Zig so famously said, you can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. I mean, really, that's what it's about. And so what we do is we give without attachment to the results. Now, some people say give without expectation. I think I know what they mean. I think they mean without attachment, because you know what? I want you to expect good things, right? I want you, when you give and you're out there giving, that doesn't mean it has to be from any one specific source, but I want you to know that when you are giving from your heart, when you're giving from your head, when you're giving because you truly want to add value to the world, okay, great things are going to happen. I want you to expect that. I just don't want you to be attached to it. And when we talk about attachment, it means our sense of happiness, our joy, our peace of mind is dependent upon a specific result. Well, you know what? We have no control over that result, right? We only have control over what we do.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. And I like to end these with simple little things because I like to be able to relate with people a little bit more. Bob, just out of curiosity, and just for me, again, childlike faith, what's your favorite ice cream or dessert?
Oh, wow. My favorite dessert has to be a chocolate chip cookie. Warm, soft, and
Nice and
gooey.
warm, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite meal? What's your favorite go-to meal?
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Really?
You know
My
it.
daughter makes the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I love it. Crunchy or smooth?
Oh, smooth. Don't get me wrong, crunchy's good. I have not disrespecting the crunchy. I just love that smooth peanut butter, smooth, creamy peanut butter.
Awesome, 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 awesome. All right, and last one, just simply because I'm a book nerd. Besides the Bible and besides books that you've written, what's a go-to book that has been very impactful for you?
Oh, wow. There's so many. Any of Zig's books, are always just first on the list. You've got books like Orison Swett Marden's 1910 classic, or 1906 classic, Peace, Power, and Plenty, which is a magnificent book. Yeah, you've got How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. Another great book, which was a game changer, for me, was Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, written in 1960.
Yeah,
That was the first book that shared with me how, our set of beliefs, right? Beliefs, which are subjective truths, right? They're the truth as we understand the truth to be through the paradigm we have been given, right? It's how our beliefs dictate our future, and we can never accomplish anything greater than our most limiting beliefs. So, there's so many. I just read another one, which was absolutely fantastic. It was by, um, Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, called 10X is Easier Than 2X. And it
yeah.
was absolutely fantastic. And I'm reading a great one right now from Mark O'Donnell, Kelly Knight, and CJ Dubey, called People Dare to Build an Intentional Culture. And they're with the EOS entrepreneurial operating system. All right, so, there's so many great books that we can read that are just so mind building, heart building, soul building, and just, help us in so many ways.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I'm just a big proponent for reading. Right. I tell people that if you don't read, you're no better than the person that can't. So
Exactly.
definitely take advantage
Mhm.
of that reading opportunity. So Bob, again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. I know I went a little bit over the time, but I appreciate you taking
That's
time to deliver and to share with the Fun Life community here on the Childlike Faith podcast in the studios. And so thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Definitely can't wait to connect with you. And I will be at one of your events coming soon.
Well, come to next Tuesday's one if you get a chance to. I think it will be very enlightening, the Q&A.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I've
love
got
to
them
see you.
packed, but I'm definitely going to put it on my schedule. Hey Bob, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you very much.